I need a shade. It took me a week to grow this. It's kind of nice. God, how do people walk around and talk to themselves? I'm in my backyard and I feel like an idiot. Alright guys, and we're back with another video. So last video we kind of talked about a little bit about the basics of the game, weapons, things like that. So I kind of wanted to talk about the leveling system in this game. I know when I first joined my first time, I really wasn't sure what to do. And so that's really what we're going to be focusing on. What do you do? What's the objective of Sea of Thieves? So, and it's a complicated answer, but I kind of wanted to talk first about the leveling system. So, when you join in, if you're at an outpost, there are companies. So this is the gold hoarder tent. This is the, you can see there, gold hoarders. That's the emissary. We'll talk about that in another video. But this is the gold hoarder. So this is one of the companies. And then, so you'll find these guys at every single outpost. So every outpost, you'll find the same representatives. They may be in a different location, but that guy will always be in the tent. This lady will always be on the bottom floor, on a two-story building. She'll always be down here. So this is Order of Souls. And then always on the dock where your ship is is the merchant. So this is the merchant. So those are the three companies. Those are the three basic ones. There's a couple others, like there's one for fishing. There's also one for PvP, which is called the Reaper's Bounty, or Reaper's Bones. I'm sorry. And then there's also one for the arena. But the three primary ones that you're going to level up is going to be the Gold Hoarders, the Order of Souls, and the Merchant. So from each of these guys, you can go walk up to them and talk to them, and they sell you voyages. And as you level up, you'll be able to buy things from them, different things, and you can buy voyages from them. So let me buy one of these just to kind of show you. So you go ahead and buy it. Alright, and then the higher you level up, the more it's going to cost. So once you have a voyage, you come over to your ship, and I will show you how to... Oh, look at that. The event is right next to me. That is very interesting. Okay. Which, if you're curious, I have a video already uploaded if you want to check that out that explains some strategies. I wouldn't advise a new player to do that, but if you're an experienced player and you want to give that a try, check that video out. It'll make it a little bit easier on you. Alright. Oh, rip. Okay, so on your ship, and it's a different location for each, but so on this one you'll come to the quest table. So something about the quest table, when you put a voyage down, you have to vote on it. So if you have 3 people on your ship, then it takes 2 out of 3 votes. On a sloop like this, or really any ship, if you have only 2 people, it takes 2 out of 2 votes. If there's 4 people, it takes 3 out of 4. Since I'm by myself, I'm going to be able to put it down, and then once you put it down, you have to vote on it. Alright, so you vote on it, boom, now you have a voyage. And then, so if you want to see your voyage, you have to go to your wheel, go to your quests, and then for this one, it pops up right here. You can read that. I have to get these things from this person. A real quick tip for Merchant Alliance. So, let's see, where does it say? Cayenne's grave. It doesn't really say. So I just have to deliver this to the merchant, so I can't really give you the tip. What I was going to say is sometimes it gives you a name delivered to this person or get from that person. The first letter of the name tells you kind of where they'll be hanging out. So for example, if it starts with a T, that's generally in the tavern, but it could also be the equipment person for tool. If it starts with an S, it's the ship person. So it's always going to see Sandra for ship. So Mandy for merchant. So that's just a little hint if you're trying to do these. It's always the first letter of the name. Gives you a hint to where they're hanging out on the island. Um, so back to the leveling up. So when you first start out, you're going to be 0 of 0. Okay. With a relatively recent update, the levels go all the way up to 75 for each of these guys. For Hunter's Call, which is the fishing one, it only goes up to 50, and I believe with the Sea Dog one, it goes up to 50, and that's probably good. So if you come here to this screen, you can click on Reputation, and so you'll see what I am, but this is probably a better place to show you. So you have Reaper's Bones, that's the PvP one. You have Gold Hoarders, Merchant Alliance, Order of Souls, Hunter's Call, and Sea Dogs. And then Athena is for when you get Pirate Legend. So kind of to the point, right? So most people's goal, there's different goals. There's different accommodations. There's different things you can do. But for the main goal, I would say for most people, is to become a Pirate Legend. So you can become a Pirate Legend. You get access to like the Athena voyages. You get access to the Pirate Hideout, which I can show you that very quickly. So it's in each tavern. You have to come here. You'll play music, which you only get this when you become Pirate Legend. Play a little song, and it opens up a secret little area. I'm probably going to save this for another video, since most people watching this will not have access to this area. But this is kind of the point. So once you become Pirate Legend, you get access to this additional place, and you go down there, and there's a place down there. And I'll show that to you in another video. So to get Pirate Legend, you have to get level 50 in 3 of the companies. And you're most likely going to do that with the 3 we've talked about, with the Gold Hoarder, the Order of Souls, and the Merchant. So that's kind of one of the main goals, is to do that. So that's kind of the levels. Something else I want to cover real quick is, let me get back to the tavern where we just were, is Tall Tales. So I don't really do Tall Tales, so I'm probably not the best person to teach them. I definitely intend to do a series on that, where I'm actually going to be walking through them for most of them for the first time. But Tall Tales are pretty popular with most new players. It's a PvE aspect. It's built into the game. It tells you a story as you go through them. So this is where you would start the first one, the Shroud Breaker. So you'd come here, you'd vote on it just like if it was a voyage, and it's going to give you some clues and some riddles that you're going to have to solve. You're going to have to go to certain islands, things like that. So that's another aspect of the game that you can earn certain things from doing, that a lot of people really enjoy. I kind of enjoy it, but I just really haven't had the time to do it. Okay, now, what's the best way to level up? The first thing I'm going to tell you, the worst way to level up is these voyages that I just showed you how to buy. That's not 100% true, because there's Athena voyages, but not really talking about that. But for the 3 normal companies, I would argue the voyages are the worst way to go about leveling up. The best way, in my opinion, which has been made a little bit more complicated now with this new event, is to do the world event. So I just want to cover that real quickly, because I know when I was new to player, it was a little confusing. So you can see that thing in the sky. You'll be able to see this from about anywhere on the map. That is the Braveheart event. You have to sink all those ships. I have a whole video on how to do it, but you get a lot of loot from doing that. I don't know that it's kind of a challenging one, so that's kind of why I say this kind of complicates the advice I'm about to give. But if you can figure out how to do this, you're gonna get a ton of loot. So the other kind of world events, right? You have forts, and when you see a fort, it's gonna be a big skull. If you go there, it's gonna be a fort, and you're gonna have to kill waves of skellies. And I'll do a video on how exactly to do it, but I'm just more talking about the general ways to level. So you find the fort, kill all the skellies. It's going to give you a key. You're going to open a vault, and you'll get a bunch of loot. So that's the other world event. And then The last one, which is a little bit tough as well, but probably even more worthwhile, is the Skelly Fleet. So I'm gonna call that the Ghost Fleet. There's one called the Skelly Fleet, where it's ships that you have to sink, and again, you get a bunch of loot when you do that. And I'll make a video on each of these. But I guess my main point is doing the voyages. You're gonna level up extremely slowly, extremely slowly. The best way is to do these world events. So a few more things I kind of want to explain. And it was kind of scary to me the first few times I saw them. But as you go around, you're going to run into things that look like big sharks. Those are called megalodons. And those are also a great way to level up. They drop a ton of loot. And they're really not that hard. They can be a little bit intimidating when you first run into them. Honestly, the best way to defeat them is to lower the anchor and just shoot them with cannons. It's really not that tough. And then other things you might run into, there's a kraken. If you're on a sloop especially, it's pretty easy to defeat. I don't think it's really worth it, other than if you want to get accommodations. Yeah, I'm kind of getting too close to that. It doesn't really drop a lot of loot, and the loot it does drop, it drops at weird times, so it's difficult to get it all. Yeah, I would not. It's something you'll run into, but unless you just want to do it, it's not going to give you that much loot. So there's a fort, for example. It's not active, so when it is active, it'll get a big skull above it. Right. So all that being covered, that in my opinion, if you focus on those big events, that is going to be your quickest way to level up. Now, that being said, it's the quickest way to level up, but that comes with some problems, right? So obviously, since it's so much loot, it's going to attract other players. And that's true. And so when you're doing these forts, it's best to do it with, more than one person, obviously, but you can still do it by yourself. You just have to be very wary of people coming up to you trying to take your loot. Because it's a power game. That's what people are going to do to you. They're going to take your loot. And so that kind of comes to my next big piece of advice. When people take your loot, it's alright. There's lots of loot. You're going to go take other people's loot. That's just part of the game. In fact, I didn't really talk about it, but that's also a really good way to level up, is when you see a fort and someone's already doing it, go try and steal it from them. Don't feel bad about it. It's part of the game. It's a pirate game. It's not a PvE game. If it was just PvE, this game probably wouldn't be what it is. That's what makes this game fun, is the fact that you get to play against other players. It just is what it is. When I first started playing, I didn't really like the PvP aspect. I kind of would get frustrated when people would steal my stuff. Well, it's a pirate game. It's part of it, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. It's a pirate game. Don't get frustrated when people steal your loot. But by far, doing these forts is the best way. So I just want to cover one more thing real quickly, and we'll end this video. And in the next video, we'll cover some more things. But when you come to reputation, where we were looking at, another big part of the game. So we talked about leveling up, becoming pirate legend. We talked about the tall tales, which kind of fall in this as well. But the other aspect is the achievements. So I click in build rats because there's a lot in here. But under each of these, when you click into them, you'll be able to click here, accommodations. There's a bunch of achievements. In each one of these, it tells you, let me go back because that's not a good example, but let me go to build rats. So when you come in here, it says, let me find one. Deliver 20 captain's chests to Reaper's hideout. Of course, it keeps talking about Reapers. Deliver 5 rag and bone crates to Stephen Spoil. So I'm not going to obviously talk about each one of these, but the point is there's tons of achievements. So that's another point of this game, is achievement chasing or completion. There's tons and tons of achievements. You get different things by completing each one. Sometimes it's just a title. Sometimes it'll be a piece of a ship set. Sometimes it'll be a piece of clothing. Um, but that's another huge part of the game. So, so to answer the question that I kind of posed at the beginning, when you come in, what is the focus? So you want to level up, or you want to do tall tale, or you want to complete achievements. Um, and then lastly, which I think I kind of briefly talked about, some people just like the PvP aspect. If you want to go and just ride around and sink other pirates, that's fun as well. Um, it's probably not something as a new player that you'd want to do. You'd kind of want to get used to the controls and things like that, but that's definitely something people do. So it's something to be aware of because you will run into it. And again, don't get frustrated. It's part of the game. If they sink you and take your loot, you're going to respawn. You'll get another ship, and you'll start over. So, I said that was the last thing, and I think of one more thing, because that brought up a good point. Something else that I didn't really know when I first started this game. What the heck happens when my ship sinks? What happens when I fall off the ship? I probably should have covered this sooner, to be honest, but if you fall off, it's not a big deal, right? So when you fall off, just swim away from your ship, and hopefully what's going to happen, so right there, a mermaid's going to spawn. You just swim up to the mermaid and say return to my ship. Alright, so anytime you get separated from your ship, whether you fall off or if someone leaves you or someone steals your ship, you just do that. If your ship sinks, same deal, a mermaid will pop up because you're so far from your ship, and your ship will just respawn at another location, and it'll come with all the materials like you started at an outpost. So everything will be good, everything will be fine. If you get sunk, you get sunk, and you can go to a different server if you feel like those people are going to keep harassing you, or you just go get back on your ship and you can go fight them, or you can just continue on your way. Either way. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. If you thought this video was helpful or you just like my content, be sure to hit the subscribe button. This is going to be a series that I'm going to continue. Also be sure to hit the like button. It really helps the videos out. Also, if you have any more questions or anything like that, once this video goes live, I'll be live over on twitch.tv/swipswe. Come check me out. Come hang out. Ask me any questions in there, and I'll be sure to answer them. Anyway guys, thanks for everything. Have a good one.